Behind the glitz of the stage lights and the hustle and bustle of the entertainment world, which often appears perfect, there are two hearts that have been beating in silence, waiting for the right moment to touch each other without hesitation. Chen Zheyuan and Liin, two names often mentioned together due to their extraordinary chemistry that always sparks speculation, finally did something no one ever expected them to do. They confessed their feelings directly, honestly, gently, and almost made the whole world fall silent as they looked at each other when those words were spoken. That confession did not happen suddenly. There was a long journey, hidden behind the smiles they often showed in front of the camera, hidden behind dialogues that seemed ordinary but radiated a sincerity that was too real to be just acting. When they stood side by side, there was a warmth that could not be faked. When they laughed, there was a soulfulness that made anyone who witnessed it feel that an invisible bond had united them for a long time. On the day they finally spoke honestly, the atmosphere was so gentle, as if the world had conspired to create the perfect moment. There were no glamorous spotlights, no big stage, just two people sitting side by side and looking at each other with meaningful eyes. Chun Yuan, with a warm gaze and a slightly trembling voice, finally uttered the words that made the air seem to stop moving. He admitted that his relationship with Liin was not just a professional closeness or ordinary friendship. While working together, he found a comfort he had never felt before, a feeling that with Liin, he could be himself without having to show the strong side that the world around him always demanded. He said that love came slowly, like dew appearing before sunrise, slowly but surely filling his heart without him realizing it. There were moments that seemed small, but turned out to be turning points for him. The way Liin smiled when she was nervous, the way she took a deep breath after laughing too long, or the way she looked down when she was thinking. All of these became small pieces that formed a big picture in his heart. Chen Zheyuan said that he never intended to fall in love, but he was also never able to avoid it, because someone like Liin made the world feel softer. When it was Liin's turn to speak, her eyes were teary even before she said anything. Her expression reflected someone who had kept something inside for too long, someone who finally had the chance to let it out. Her voice was soft but confident when she said that Chen Zheyuan was in her life like a calm breeze that came when she needed it most. From the beginning, she admired Zheyuan's sincere attitude and subtle attentiveness, which he gave without ever asking for anything in return. Liin admitted that she had held back because of fear of public opinion, fear that her feelings might just be an illusion formed by the intensity of their work and the time they spent together. But every time she tried to distance herself from her feelings, she found how much space Zheyuan had taken up in her heart. She spoke of the sense of security she felt when she was near him, of the laughter that came more easily, of the steps that felt lighter, and of the feelings that grew so strong she could no longer ignore them. When Liin uttered the words, "He is the place I come home to," the room seemed to be filled with a touching silence. There was such raw honesty in those words that anyone who heard them felt that their love was something undeniable, something that could not be contained even though they had tried to hold it back. Between them, there was no excessive drama. There were no grand confessions shrouded in hysterical tears or gestures made for the camera. There were only two people who finally admitted what their hearts had known for a long time. Their gazes met not to convince each other, but to confirm the feelings they had long felt but had not yet expressed. And when they smiled, that smile brought a peace that made anyone who saw it feel that this relationship was not just a fleeting sensation, but a love story born from deep sincerity. The world may see them as two big stars, but at that moment, they were just two hearts choosing to be honest. The public often forgets that celebrities are also human beings who feel love, fear, and doubt, just like everyone else. However, their courage to open their hearts in the spotlight is what makes this love story feel warmer, more real, and more touching. Perhaps that is why this confession resonates so deeply. not because they are celebrities, but because the love they speak of is a love that anyone can feel. As they shared how it all began, they both chuckled while looking at each other, as if remembering every detail of a memory that only they knew. In that laughter, there was embarrassment, there was happiness, but above all, there was relief. They no longer had to hide what had been a little secret between them. They no longer had to hide their feelings every time the camera caught them standing too close or laughing too freely next to each other. Liin admitted that she was still afraid, not afraid of her relationship with Chen Zheyuan, but afraid of a world that was often too harsh on new love. However, she also said that as long as Zheyuan was by her side, she felt brave enough to face anything. Meanwhile, Chun Yuan, with a soft but firm voice, said that he was ready to protect what they had, not in a heroic sense, but in the most human sense, with patience, with honesty, and with presence. Their love was not about complicated sweet promises. Their love was in the simple sentences they said with sincerity. It was in the gaze that wove silence into warmth. It was in the small laughter that arose unplanned. It was in the fears they acknowledged together, as well as in the courage they now shared. And now, as they stood side by side, the world witnessed a story that was not wrapped in pretense. This story was born from mutual trust, grew from the time they spent away from the cameras, and developed from small conversations that were never heard by the public. This love is a love that slowly grew without being noticed, like a flower that bloomed from a small seed that was given enough attention and light. For fans, this moment feels like a long wait that has finally borne fruit. There is overflowing happiness, tears of joy, and a sense of relief knowing that what had seemed so real all along has finally been confirmed. Their love gives hope that in the midst of a world full of pressure, there is still room for sincere feelings that cannot be bought or forced. A space where two hearts can find each other without rushing, without hiding their wounds, and without fear of the future. The love they describe is not just a string of words. It is a journey they have chosen to take together, even though the world may not always be kind. But love, when it is true, always gives us the strength to face anything. Chun Yuan and Liin prove that honesty is the most beautiful foundation in a relationship. The honesty to admit feelings, the honesty to accept fears, and the honesty to move forward while holding each other's hands. And now, the public is witnessing a new beginning that is so colorful. They don't know what lies ahead, but they know that as long as they have each other, they will never walk alone. This love is real. This love is warm. This love is strong. And this love, without needing to be embellished with excessive words, is enough to make the world believe that two hearts destined to meet will eventually find the courage to speak up.